Now, it's going to be kind of rough. I better warn you up front. This is still very much a work in progress that kind of developed in my head over the course of the last 2 weeks while we've been taking this professional development course. So my assignment name is Connecting Characteristics of Data with Organizing, Displaying, Describing, and Summarizing Data. Due date I've got to be arranged. And so the purpose is, and I've used the TILT format here, to introduce new content through connecting essential characteristics of data with the concepts and skills of organizing, displaying, describing, and summarizing raw data. Student success in the class hinges on their ability to understand, connect, apply, and translate between multiple representations of data, tables, graphs, pictures, symbolic, and written word. We return to these ideas again and again throughout the course. These are foundational things that if students don't get these, it's going to be a very long semester for them. So we're trying to beef up this section. The student learning outcomes addressed from the master's syllabus consist of constructing a frequency distribution, which is a tabular representation of data, to graph a frequency distribution as a histogram, to find the mean, the median, and the mode. These are measures of center of raw data scores. To find the variance, the standard deviation, and the range of raw data scores. Find the mean and standard deviation of a frequency distribution. And the purpose number 2 is to introduce new content through students developing and demonstrating and understanding how raw data from real-life contexts is organized, displayed, described, and or summarized to reveal essential characteristics of the data. And these are things that I've gotten from both the TBR and the American Association of Colleges and Universities under General Learning Outcomes. So here's these characteristics of data, and their students will have a handout with these in class that I'm going to show you in just a minute. But essentially, it's an understanding of the following characteristics of data is essential, as these concepts will appear again and again in our study of descriptive and inferential statistics. Measures of center, a representative value that indicates where the middle of a data set is located. Measures of variation or dispersion, a measure of the amount that the data values vary. These describe how spread out the data is across the full range of values. Measures of location or position. This is a measure that allows one to locate a data value within the full range of a data set. These are valuable tools that we will revisit again and again throughout the course. These are your Z-scores. Some of these uses include comparing data values from different data sets and in identifying outliers. The distribution, the nature or shape of the data over the range of the values, such as a bell-shaped, uniform, or skewed. And we'll work a lot with the normal distribution in this class over the course of the semester. And outliers, sample values that lie very far away from the vast majority of other sample values. I always introduce to the class, and I say, well, we could take the average income for our class, and I'm going to add one student to our class, and let's see what y'all think will happen to things like the measures of center. And they say, okay. And then I'll say that one student is going to be Jeff Bezos. And they right away, you see the knowing looks from people that understand, right, currently he's considered the richest man in the world, that would throw everything off. But anyway, that's outliers we'll be talking about here. And time, changing characteristics of data over time. And this originally came from a Triola textbook, but then I've modified it because it didn't have measures of location or position in there, even though we probably use those the most. The purpose of this assignment is to help you practice the following skills that are essential to your success in the course, in school, and in personal and professional life beyond school. And these are the things from the TBR, Gen Ed requirements, the ability to understand mathematical concepts from various sources and communicate these concepts to others in your own words. The ability to connect previous learning to current learning. We were introduced to data in the first chapter, so this is the second chapter. The ability to understand and articulate the relevance of mathematical concepts and skills in real-life contexts. So the knowledge, this assignment will also help you become familiar with the following important content knowledge in the discipline. Learn about how raw data is organized, displayed, and described or summarized. Knowledge number 2, recognize essential characteristics of data given above how are they made visible? I got a typo there, with tables, graphs, and symbols. Recognize, I'm going to fix that right now. How the essential characteristics data given above are made visible with tables and graphs and symbols. And by symbols, we mean numbers in this case, although we get lots of Greek letters in statistics. So on Brightspace, I have a set of notes for Chapter 2. I don't use Teach from the Text for this class, so everything they need is in Brightspace. This will be an open educational resource class. The only thing I'm expecting students to purchase is the access to the StatCrunch application, which right now is about $15. I don't even expect them, they don't have to buy a calculator if they don't want to. I provide access to a free one online. So I want them to review the Chapter 2 notes prior to class. These are in Brightspace. I'm going to assign the students to dyads, language I got from doing the Circle of Trust things with the Parker Palmer organization, which are groups of 2, or triads, groups of 3. While the group members are settling in, they will review the characteristics of data handout provided. And I actually have a copy of that here. And this is it. And basically, this will be, actually, it'll have the rubric on the back. But this essentially is the same information that we just reviewed. But they'll have this in their hands as they're settling in to review. So I want to go back to, all right, so I'm going to do a mini, I guess a mini lecture you would call it. This won't take very long. I'm going to display a large set of raw data in a text file, and I just happen to have it pulled up where y'all can see it. And this is what it looks like. And I think y'all would all agree that there's not much we can do with this, that this is a mess. And there's actually 420 lines of data here. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a mess. Now I'm then going to take, and this is where I messed you up. Oh, there it is. I already have this. Let's see, my StatCrunch, my data. I think I'm going to get there a faster way. Sorry, I should have opened this up ahead of time, but I'm tired. I've been doing this all day. My data, my groups, here we go. And there's about Appalachia. It's a data set I got that came from the Appalachian Regional Commission. And I'm going to take that same set of data and open it in StatCrunch. This is the same set of data that you just looked at. So this is the demo. And now you see I have it in a much more usable form. And I can do lots of things with it here. I can do the summary stats or the descriptive stats here. I can graph this here. Just lots of things I can do quickly and efficiently. I am a strong believer in teaching my students to use the technology. They're not going to be looking up critical values on charts of z-scores anymore or anything like that. It's just not going to happen. Because that's not the way people work in this workplace now. I know some people really think everything should be. I demonstrate how to do stuff by hand with a calculator in class, and then we go to the technology. Because, again, having worked in industries where I use spreadsheets, I understand that they're not, if the only thing you know how to do is do things old school, slowly, you're not going to stay employed very long. So anyway, this is that's my opinion, no extra charge. But yeah, it's really important that my students become comfortable with the technology. So let's go back to the Tilt design course. So I'm going to take about 10 minutes, and during that time, I'm going to show them a histogram. I'm going to show them I'm going to do the descriptive statistics, and I'm going to set up a frequency distribution. However, the chapter notes that they have all these different displays of data already there, which will be all they need for the purposes of this discussion. But anyway, I'm going to take about 10 minutes with that. And then I'll identify the purpose and process of the discussion, along with providing a handout that will include the rubric outlining the expectations and following the following prompt to start the discussion. Now, I only go in with one prompt, and then I float around the room listening. And I have been teaching this course a long time, so I'm pretty good at asking Socratic type questions to help people get unstuck. But for the most part, I hope to be teaching with my mouth shut here. So here's the opening prompt. In Module 2, we're exploring the organization, display, and description or summary of data. Descriptive statistics or summary of statistics are interchangeable terms. An understanding of the connections between these different types of representation and characteristics of data is essential to your success in this class. These concepts will appear again and again in our study of descriptive and inferential statistics. The descriptive statistics are foundational parts of more complex statistical analysis tools we will see throughout the course this semester. What connections or patterns to the characteristics of data do you notice from the different ways the raw data is organized, displayed, and described or summarized? For example, you can predict an approximate location for the center of the data set and the frequency distribution. What other connections do you see? Feel free to refer to the chapter notes, write down everything you see, and be prepared to share these ideas with the other members of your group and eventually the whole class. I probably need to add that line in there. So they will open with a quiet time of reflection, jotting down notes, pictures, whatever they feel led to do. That will take about 5 minutes. After the reflection, they will turn to members of their smaller group and decide how they will take notes for their discussion. They will need to turn in a copy of their set of notes from their discussion. This will be a grade for the group using a rubric. I haven't created that rubric yet, but it'll be along the lines of this one that I'm currently using, which I will pull up for you. I hope I will pull up for you. So that's the rubric. Let me pull me out of the way. It's something that you can do with Loom. This is the rubric I'm currently using. 5 points for content, knowledge, understanding, and application. 3 points for grammar, punctuation, capitalization. 2% for completion and responses and timeliness. And it shows what's perfect score here, what's a less than perfect score here. When you get down to this level, responses show very little evidence of understanding course content knowledge. And if you get to this level, you notice I have the redo. But I will allow redos on this because at this point, it's only the second week of the semester and students are still learning how to do school. And I said that in one of my discussion posts. But that's the rubric I'm using currently. I will modify that for both the in-class group portion, but I'm going to give them a chance to upload this because if this class is taught in a computer lab, they will be able to upload this as a doc file, and I will grade it with the rubric online. And again, this will be a group grade. I want them to learn how to depend on each other early. If I get somebody that just does not contribute to the group at all, and that's something that I may have to handle. I may then give, well, I still haven't decided how to handle that. I'm hoping I'm able to prevent that from happening. So let's go back. Where was I? After the reflection period, they will, oh, okay, I got ahead of myself anyway. They don't have to turn anything in yet. After this reflection period, they will turn to the member or members of their small group, there'll be one or two, and decide how they will take notes for the discussion. They will need to turn in a copy of their set of notes from their discussion. This will be a grade for the group using a rubric. Then they will begin sharing their findings from the opening prompt. Groups will be challenged as to how many connections they can find. They can take a picture of these notes to submit to me, or they can create a Word doc that can be emailed or submitted in Brightspace. I wrote that, and then I thought, wait a minute, I'm teaching this course in a face-to-face in a computer lab. I will create the Dropbox in Brightspace and let them submit the doc file there. So I'm going to modify this. At this point, my primary role will be to float around the room and teach with my mouth shut. I will have a short list of Socratic questions ready if any of the small groups need a little nudge or a little more support. We will bring the group back to whole class. Again, this was 15 minutes. I've used 50 minutes of a 55-minute class because I'm expecting some people to be late. So the short list of Socratic questions ready. I said that. When I bring the group back to the whole class, each small group will report back to the whole class. Because this isn't on campus, there is 18 students max in the class because it's face-to-face. So I think there will be time in 15 minutes. So that would be 8 to 9 groups. And I do believe, especially since there'll be a lot of duplication, that they will be able to report back over a 15-minute period. And if everybody's on time, I actually have 5 minutes extra. But I can adjust these times as needed once I have done it a few times. During the reporting time, I'll ask for a student, volunteer, or volunteers to make a report list of each group's findings. Usually when I ask for volunteers, I always have a few brave souls who do not mind coming up the instructor station. And the idea is I don't want to be the one standing at the instructor station like the sage on the stage. When I'm able to talk people into doing this, I move to the back of the room and try to be less obtrusive, let the students do as much of it as they can. That might be a bit too ambitious because they'll just be doing this with a doc file. But hopefully, maybe I should get the volunteers early. I'm thinking out loud here. Maybe I should get the volunteers early so they have time to get comfortable with the technology at the instructor station. But the document they create will be posted on Brightspace to be available as a resource for the final reflection. The final piece will be assigned as homework. This will consist of a personal reflection submitted as a discussion post in Brightspace. After posting their personal reflection, they will reply, and they're going to use the same prompt. They will reply to 2 of their classmates using the 3CQ model. I really like that because the responses I've been getting in the past were so terrible that hopefully this will improve it. The rubric will be provided that includes the expectations for their initial post and their replies to the classmates. If students fail to meet the acceptable standards for college work, they will be required to redo the assignment with my help if necessary. There will not be any penalty. Again, this is only the second week of college for many of them, and they haven't learned how to do college. I'll say that over and over. The redo will be the grade that counts. This will be early in the semester, and I'm just going to repeat the same thing that I've said twice already. But for many of the students I get in this Gen A class, and they take it the very first semester they get to school, this is a border crossing to the foreign land. I'm sorry, but the academia, however you like to pronounce it, we're a bunch of weirdos. And, they come in, they're listening to us speak another language. So I really feel it's important to help them with more in the beginning. I feel like if I provide a lot of extra support in the first few weeks, I'll be providing less support later. It's sort of like taking the training wheels off a bicycle. So what's the criteria for success? These are the pieces of the puzzle that will still need to be created because I still have to modify rubrics in Brightspace for the group discussion notes. This part of the assignment here, the personal reflection, the first part was worth 10 points, the group notes. You notice I have that as less points, less value than the personal reflection they do individually. This grade will be the group grade. The personal reflection piece will be an individual grade using the online rubric. The current rubric will be modified to include criteria for responses to classmates' posts. The part of this assignment will be worth 20 points, 10 points for their personal reflections, 5 points for each of their replies. In our assessment meetings for the Maths 1530 class, we have identified estimating an approximation for a measure of center from a histogram as a problematic concept that we wanted to focus on improving as a department. So I'm going to be looking at the test questions relating to that concept, where in the assessment they're given a histogram and they have to approximate where the measure of center would be. And I'm hoping that by doing the assignment this way, I'll see benefits on this first assessment. And then the other assessments on the other modules later on down the road where they use these foundational pieces as parts of um, other more complex statistical calculation instruments they will be using. So that's my assignment. I hope I didn't take too long. I'm going to stop recording and get this uploaded, and I'm going to try to get some sleep because I've been at this since about 7:30 this morning. So y'all take care.